Was your family strange as a kid? I mean, really strange. Nothing close to normal. Were they religious fanatics? Cult-like, maybe. My childhood was never normal, so why should my adulthood be? Final question. Did your family ever sell your soul to Satan? No? Who would do that to their child, you say? My family did. I was used as a sacrificial lamb in a very unlikely exchange. I guess I should give some backstory to how this happened and why. I won't bore you with irrelevant details. My family consisted of people who shared a common belief. My one true blood tie being my mother and my older sibling. My grandmother was not really my grandmother, and so on and so forth. You get it. These were weak-minded people that longed to control their demons, thinking everything was wrong and everything was sin. They identified as non-denominational Christians, but took bits and pieces from all religions and used the parts that helped further their agenda. They claimed God had cured them of their carnal sins and desires, but deep down, they knew all those carnal needs were just laying under their surface, begging to be scratched. They claimed their end goal was to love thy neighbor with a love that was pure, unbiased, endless, and unconditional. Agape, they called it. They did not want any act of kindness to be muddied due to beauty or lust. Seemed like a good thought process, right? But that was far from their true motivations. These people wanted to believe they had a higher path, but in reality, what they craved most was control. They craved the one thing they themselves could not fully possess or accomplish. So instead, they used their powerful testimony of freedom granted by the Lord above as leverage over the weak-minded. Now that you understand how important this was to them, to have control, let me begin to tell you how I fell into this. When I came of age, I gave in to the sins of the flesh, a very natural action to most, but not to my family. Long story short, I had committed a mortal sin in the eyes of my family. Basically the whore of Babylon, but blah blah blah. To make a long story short, I gladly removed myself from that negative environment. For once in my life, I felt absolute freedom. The weight of the world removed from my shoulders. No weird practices, no arranged marriages. My will was my own. I didn't have to follow anyone or do what I was told. I was finally the captain of my own ship. This to say, my family was left a little salty about my abrupt exit. They truly wanted me to fail. I later came to find out they rather preferred I would have gotten killed and dumped on the side of the road. But since that didn't happen, they expected me to come home running like the prodigal son, humiliate myself and beg for forgiveness. Well, that didn't happen either. Since they saw me making it, their bitterness knew no bounds. Therefore, they took on a different approach, a very dark approach that would leave me with a sour taste for the rest of my life. What would you do to prevent someone from sinning, or what you perceive as sinning? That is $1 million question. I'll tell you what my family did. They sold my soul to the devil. How they concluded this act would prevent me from sin via death is beyond me. According to their lunacy, my soul would be cleansed by pain in a type of hell, But there was a light at the end of the tunnel. After the devil purged me of sin, my soul would be allowed into everlasting paradise. Neat. I was oblivious to all of this until a few years ago, and finding out really shed some light on all the weird crap that had happened to me. I don't know anything for certain. I can only speculate that their demonic pact didn't work out for them as they had planned, since my soul was never theirs to barter with. But they did manage to open the door and make me a living target, so to speak. On an ordinary day when I was younger, I made a friend. We were two peas in a pod and went everywhere together. After a long period of time of friendship, she talked me into partaking into a seance, which I agreed to because I thought it was a bunch of crap. The room was dark and candlelit. The medium was following the motions of getting everyone in the mood. I sat there thinking how dumb all this was, when suddenly my vision went dark and the air was expelled from my lungs. I began to have a vision. A woman in the middle of an empty space came into my view. The image began to come into focus, and I could see it was my mother in a white flowing dress. She was so very angry. It engulfed her. It seemed like she wanted to rush and attack me, but she was chained to that spot. Out of nowhere, she burst into flames, and shrieks of agony ripped through the silence. She thrashed violently, and everything slowed down. Her mouth outstretched in a crippling scream, reaching for me so I would burn too. I was shaken awake by my friend and the medium. I had somehow managed to fall out of my seat and was sprawled on the floor. My friend stared at me and was telling me to get up, but she looked different. Her eyes had no reflection. Oh boy, I must have hit my head when I passed out. I told her I was shaken and wanted to leave. My friend agreed and told me to wait and rest while she went to get our things together and bring up the car. As I sat there, the medium moved in close and gripped my arm tightly. She said, "You are cursed. Don't trust anyone. They want your soul and will do anything to get it." I waved her off, naturally thinking she was crazy as hell, but something deep inside urged me to keep a close eye on my friend. From the time of the seance, something had changed in her. Her sense of humor became very macabre. She joked about God, death, and the afterlife like it was no big deal. It was very unlike her. She was always a devout Christian. One day, she reached out to me. She said she was in trouble and needed me to help her. I would do anything for her. So I said, "Of course, anything." "Anything?" she said. "Yes, of course. What's going on?" So, she basically told me that she had gotten into a cult, and the only way they would let her leave was if someone gave their soul for her. I was in shock. What kind of stupid request is that? Do they expect me to wrap it up in a pink bow too? Sarcasm dripped from every word. Just tell him I gave it to you and there. There's no way to prove it, so who cares? She said I had to express it publicly with one of the members present. I remembered back to the medium, what she said. A sudden chill went down my spine. I then looked at her eyes. There was no light in her eyes. There was no shine. Even the whites of her eyes looked dull. I felt so pressured to say I would, but I couldn't. I told her I couldn't give up something I didn't believe existed. She suddenly went into a fit and attacked me. She knocked me to the floor and started choking me. I struggled, but managed to get the upper hand, and with all my might, I punched her in the nose, and she was out cold. As she lay there, I saw something escape her body, like a vapor. As you can imagine, I was done. I've never talked to her again after that incident, although she claims she had suffered blackouts and didn't remember any of her strange actions, joining a cult or needing my soul. This is why I cannot have friends. It started when I turned 21 and has never stopped. People around me that I get close with, anyone friendly, even family. When I start getting attached or building a friendship, over time they change. The light in their eyes dim, and they instigate the worst kind of situations, anything to try to take my soul. Nice try, Satan. Not today. Or ever. Hey there, YouTube. This is Dead Eyes, and this is the original story that I had been planning to release last Sunday. Unfortunately, I was a little under the weather. I had a migraine and really couldn't do much of anything for a few days. So I took some time off and was gonna record just a random creepypasta, but decided to just go ahead and put this one out. So I hope you all enjoy it. This is definitely a little different. So let me know in the comments what y'all think, and thank you for tuning in. And I finally hit 100 subscribers. I'm really excited. I definitely want to hit, the over the 1,000 mark so I could get monetized. So I'm just really grateful for all the support. Keep it coming. Please share, like, and yeah, thank you for tuning in. Till next time.